Yes, just while we wait for staff to get us online, I'd remind everyone to sign in.
You're missing one. Eli's not here.
Okay. All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome. Just a note that this meeting will be recorded and live streamed, excluding any in-camera topics. First order of business, I'll call the meeting to order and begin with our historical acknowledgement. I would like to begin by acknowledging that we're in Mi'kma'ki in the district of Sipekne'katik, the ancestral territory of the Mi'kmaq people. East Hants further acknowledges the 50 African Nova Scotian communities whose 400-year history have contributed to the province's culture, history, and legacies. We are all treaty people. We'll now have a moment of silent contemplation. Next, we'll set the date and time for next council meetings, which will be the regular meeting of Council for Policy and in camera, which will be September the 15th, 2026, and the regular meeting of council, which will be September the 23rd, 2026. Are there any amendments to the agenda? Seeing none, I declare the agenda approved. Next, we're looking for the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of Council for Policy and in camera on June the 16th, 2026, and the regular meeting of Council June 24th, 2026.
Second.
We don't need a motion, folks. I just need to know whether there are any errors or omissions, and seeing none, I declare them approved. Next, we'll move to correspondence for information. Councilors, you have it, you've had it in front of you for some time, and it is on the screen. Is there anything under correspondence for information that any councilor wants to draw attention to? Oh, Councilor Mitchell.
I was looking at item number 17, the 4-H clubs. On behalf of council, I'll be presenting those four trophies at exhibition on the 19th of August. Just want to let council know.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other items? Seeing none, we'll move to correspondence for decision. Okay, we'll start with the number 78, notice from the province regarding the new policing billing model. Consultation is planned in August, and the CAO and warden need direction for participation. So who's taking that? CAO?
Thank you, Madam Warden. So we received this letter today. However, at the staff level, we've been to a couple of sessions with the RCMP where this new billing model was discussed. One was strictly on the billing model itself, what that would look like, and the level of policing across the province. There was another one which was a general RCMP engagement with municipalities where this became one of the topics. This change, although it looks great, you reduce your policing costs by 25%, which is very significant for East Hants. The caveat is that we must spend that money on other community safety initiatives. So there will be a sort of a drop-down list of what we are permitted to spend the money on based on what our community needs itself. And my feedback to them was, we're not in this business. That's why we contract with the RCMP. We are not in the public safety business generally. I mean, we have bylaw enforcement and sidewalks and that type of thing, but we don't have community safety officers that we send out to do wellness checks for people. We don't have social workers on staff. We don't have folks who are mental health professionals on staff. And that is what they will expect you to do with that 1.6 million that you're saving from a police perspective. So it's a really big conversation for East Hants. It's one that I foresee will force you shifting your priorities from what they are now in your strategic plan to that of public safety. And if you don't, I'm not sure what the carrot is that, maybe, like, do you lose your money or do you pay it to them? I'm not really sure at this point. They haven't been clear about that. On one hand, we will have to do this, and on the other hand, they say there'll be municipal autonomy. So I'm not sure how the two reconcile yet. Hopefully in August, they're going to reach out for a virtual meeting. I'm not sure who they're going to ask to attend that meeting, whether it's going to be the Police Advisory Board. Up to this point, it's been the CAOs. Now that this announcement's been made, I would assume they're going to involve, at a minimum, the warden of the municipality they're discussing. But I don't know. So I guess I need some direction from council as to how far we have these conversations, what it looks like for East Hants. I can't tell you, but I need to be able to have some kind of conversations with them to move this forward to see where they want us to get to, if that makes sense.
Thank you. Counselor Perry.
Yeah, looking at this today and reading the provincial announcement, it was not a detail in the provincial announcement today as much as there is in this letter. And looking at it, I mean, the way I look at it is, for towns and small areas, that model might work because it's all in the same small geographical area when you're dealing with a town. But as a municipality that covers a large footprint, we already, with our RCMP, have them stretched pretty thin to respond and cover the area that we currently have them serving. And I don't see how we could in any way, with that little bit of money, come anywhere close to providing the services to the residents of the municipality and covering the whole municipality in that manner. So this is definitely something that I think needs to be taken, and there needs to be some pushback and some hard questions asked. And I would, if there's a motion needed to say that we need to have these conversations and that it should be the CAO and the ward and leading these conversations, I am all for making that motion. But I see the warden and a couple other people on, and if after they speak they want that motion made, I'll be happy to make it.
My mic is just on, so. Counselor Rhino.
Thank you, Madam Warden. Well, from this explanation here tonight by the CAO, there doesn't seem to be any savings to the taxpayer whatsoever. To me, if you're gonna decrease the cost of 25%, but you're gonna tell somebody how to spend that 25% that you did save, there's no saving. The taxpayer isn't gonna see it's the thing. So until we dive deeper into this and find out, what exactly the province is heading for, this to me was a press release that made themselves look good. Thank you.
Counselor Musa.
Thank you, Madam Warden. So they didn't tell you what we could spend it on yet? Could it be extra police officer on the ground? No. Or probably would the street lights be in that? No.
No. So the model for policing is changing as you know it. What they've done is they've looked at a new model for calculating the cost of policing, not based on the per officer model, but based on the crime severity in a community, based on the standard assessments, a couple of other indexes that they have. So the premise being that every municipality, regardless of how much a council wants to invest in policing, will get the same standard level of service.
Oh.
So that's what they're going to agree to pay for, is a standard level of service across the board. And and they're adding more money to the pot in order to make sure that happens. So municipalities won't receive less service than they get now, but they may receive more under this new model. But in the discussions I've had with them, and in the press release says these savings must be reinvested into local public safety priorities such as layered policing, community safety planning, mental health and addictions response, and crime and violence prevention. So those are all things that we don't do right now. We have one bylaw enforcement officer. That's what we do, and we do some senior safety programming with the RCMP. So all of these things, the way they described it at the meeting I was at, is sort of a drop down. What does East Hants want to take from the drop down? What can you do? What does your RCMP office in East Hants need as supports? And what are your council's priorities for this? None of these people we have on staff at the moment. So I've tried to advocate that they take these folks on. So if you need a layered policing model, those people should report to the RCMP commander and provide that support to the officers. Similar to what we've done with our admin support and court liaison officers. We don't supervise those people or tell them what to do. We pay for them through the RCMP contract. That is not the model that they're going with. So again, I don't know what it looks like, but if it looks like what it looks like in some other provinces, this is like having community safety officers that report in through the CAO. Like, do you need that will support the RCMP in their 24-hour policing model? One of the examples they gave was in Wolfville, you could send in a community safety officer to shut down a party instead of wasting RCMP's time shutting down the party. I don't know how feasible that is, but that was one of the examples that was given in the meeting that I attended. So the other one would be doing wellness checks for people. Instead of sending officers in to do wellness checks, you could send a community safety officer who would be a municipal employee in to do a wellness check for somebody. Again, not the business we're in currently, and not identified as one of your priorities for sure.
Counselor McPhee.
Thank you, Warden, and thank you, Kim, that explained at least some of what I was wondering about. But could you, what do they mean by layered policing exactly? I kind of have a thought, but
So that is that, through you, Madam Warden, that is that model that I just described. So you have a police officer to do the sort of crime and whatnot, but then you could also have a community safety officer to do wellness checks or to take somebody to the hospital. There's stories where you have RCMP officers who go to the hospital and have to sit there for 12 hours and wait with somebody until they get admitted. That could be a layered policing structure where you have someone who's not a full RCMP officer do that. You have someone who works for the municipality take them instead, a community safety officer. So that's the layered policing. They've talked as well about increased bylaw enforcement. So a lot of the things that we get the RCMP to enforce in our bylaws now, that could be enforced through bylaw enforcement officers that we would hire instead of having the RCMP go out and hire that or perform those, if it's parking violations or speed violations,
so would those officers answer directly to you as CAO or?
that would be to be determined. They would answer to me at some point. but
Yes.
Maybe not directly to me,
No,
but they would be municipal
be
employees.
municipal employees, yeah.
Right.
And so you're saying that they're gonna try to have a standard rate across the province
For policing.
for policing. We're kind of above that standard. We've chosen, I think, with the 24-hour, the number of officers that we have per capita in that work. So do we continue with that number of officers?
My understanding is yes.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
other municipalities are gonna have to come up to our standard, so it's actually gonna cost some municipalities money then.
The model shows that there's no cost increases for anybody in year one, and I tried to find it earlier. There's something about the first 5 years, there's no increases or there's minimal increases in the first 5 years to get you to where you need to be. I can't remember the formula, but
So will we still have the choice in how many officers we have
No.
like we have? No, we won't.
No.
So,
the policing model is such that the Department of Justice will determine the level of service the province has across the board. They will invest more money into policing so that everybody gets the same level of service across the board. And council will no longer be paying based on the number of officers you have. You'll be paying for a police service that is standardized across the
so we
province.
will probably have fewer officers. If you're gonna go down to a mean and you're above that mean, then you have to have less.
Not
Other people are going to
not
come up.
necessarily. But you will be out of that decision with this new model. And that's not up for debate.
Yeah.
I mean, politically, you can debate
I remember
with the
when-
province whatever you want, but in this model, the new policing model has a standard level of policing across the province. No one will lose the level they have now. And some people won't see a decrease in their costs because the level is gonna go up,
It's
not
gonna
down.
go up for them, yeah.
Yeah.
So I can't see how the people that are above the mean aren't gonna lose policing. You have to lose services if you're going to have less. But anyway, maybe, I remember when we met with the minister, and at that time, I thought he was trying to convince us that everything would be hunky-dory, but I wasn't buying it then, and I'm not buying it now. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Mitchell.
Thank you, Madam Warden. Based on the discussion and the information, I'm getting a feeling that we might have to add staff to cover the skill sets that we don't have on staff.
Through you, Madam Warden, I certainly don't have anyone on staff who could supervise a community safety office, a group of community safety officers.
So do we have to add somebody to do that going forward, or?
Through you,
I
Madam
know they're
Warden,
pushing it on us.
I think you would have to determine how this is all going to work. There's no, is it a regional approach? Is it a municipality of East Hants approach? I don't know the answer, but
This is another provincial initiative that has been pushed out with an announcement that is downloading things onto municipalities without a lot of detail on how it's going to work. I'll be blunt.
And they are setting up separate meetings with each municipality to talk about each municipal unit and how it's going to work and what they believe needs to be in place for each community, but you're gonna have a community safety board instead of a police advisory board. Your community safety board, I assume, will set those priorities for your community, and then we'll have to fund them.
Okay,
Counselors, I'm going to go to Counselor Garden Cole next. I'm gonna try and cycle through the counselors who haven't spoken yet and then come back to those who have. So Counselor Garden Cole.
Thank you, Madam Warden. So just thinking about this over in my mind, my concern with this is when you talk about wellness checks and, mental health checks and those kinds of things that people think might not fall under the umbrella of policing or might not require policing, any of those checks has the potential to escalate very quickly to the point where you do need policing. So I just don't know how they could strike those off as being potential areas where they could, lean on safety officers. I feel like we would be having to hire police to do the policing for the areas that the police aren't willing to do, which sounds really
That's essentially what
redundant,
we're doing.
but that would be, if we can pass that on, that would be the way that I'm seeing it.
So through you, Madam Warden, I have passed that on. My feedback to them was if you want to have community safety officers that support the RCMP and policing, then the police should operationalize those folks and be able to call on them when they need them, not based on when I say they should be working and when they're not. So that is part of the conversation I had with them at a meeting in Antigonish. I don't know how, I asked them again today if they had taken that into consideration, and they have not.
I understand that they are looking at their system and saying, it's like taking someone to the hospital and ending up there for 9 hours. I understand that part of their time seems like it's tied up unnecessarily or for situations that don't require policing. But this sounds like a really drastic attempt to solve those problems. Thank you.
Counselor Merriam.
Thank you, Madam Warden. I was wondering if one avenue for giving feedback and advocacy might be the NSFM or Nova Scotia Federation of Municipalities. I don't know if they've come out with anything yet, but maybe this is a question for the CAO as well. Could that be an avenue? Because I'm thinking this isn't just an us issue. It's it's an everyone issue.
Through you, Madam Warden, I know the NSFM was copied on all of our letters today. In one of our sessions, they did say that they were going to engage with the NSFM. So that would have probably been a couple of weeks ago. I'm not sure what the conversations have been with that group, but certainly I think if the municipalities all have individual meetings with Department of Justice, it's sort of one of those, divide and conquer kind of situations. I think we do need to engage the NSFM as soon as we know what the agreement looks like and what the expectations are. And that will come hopefully in our meeting in August with them.
Okay, thank you.
Deputy Warden.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess I'm similar to Councillor Mitchell and Councillor Gordon Cole, is the wellness and the parties and the things like that these people go to, hospital injuries, who is going to be training them, the liability? RCMP take a person to the hospital, they have handcuffs. They handcuff the person to a chair if they have to go to the washroom. So these people have all this protection for themselves, so. I think I'll go back to the warden's comments. It's the province downloading more stuff to municipalities. Thank you.
Back to you, Counselor Perry.
Thank you, Madam Warden. And when we talk about the 55, I think it's 55 municipalities in the province of Nova Scotia, you're probably gonna see a lot of municipalities are gonna get a win out of this because they're not meeting the standard. They don't have 24-hour policing. They don't have enough officers. So for them, this is gonna be good for their areas. For ones like us that have been proactive and been ahead of the curve, could be detrimental because they're not gonna need to take the money that was already being spent on policing and create new services. Their money's just gonna go to policing, as ours used to. And when I look at all the services that they talk about in this multi-layered policing, if we had a hospital here that had a mental health unit, if we had, an emergency room or we had any type of the supports that's required to support these positions, it might be something that our municipality could look at. But we don't have any of those within our borders. So we don't even have the supports, if we wanted to do layer policing, to support the people on the back end for doing this. So that is a huge, huge concern as well. And for me, I really think that we could talk about this for the next 2 hours. But the big thing is there's a meeting coming up in August. And then there will be a meeting coming up with us at some point. The ministers and his team is gonna come here and hopefully meet with all of council about what's going on. So I'm gonna move that, we authorize the CAO and the warden to relay at the August meeting, the displeasure with this current, funding model and announcement, that was presented by the province today, outlining our concerns, for not only the resident safety, but also the ability for us to manage and protect our residents in the future.
Seconded by Counselor McPhee. Hey, Counselor Rhino, you were on before the motion?
Thank you, Madam Warden. Well, I don't know if I can agree with the motion or not, because all we have is a letter. All we have is the little information our CAO has. We don't know. We have assumptions, we have our thoughts, we have our questions. So until we have a sit-down meeting and get some final information on what it's gonna be like, then I can think we could spend an hour, or we could spend an evening on this or more
discussing this all together. This is no good to beat this around here tonight because there's too many unanswered questions. There's not enough information.
I think, Counselor, correct me if I'm wrong, Counselor Perry, the intent of the motion is really to allow for the meeting that will take place in August, the CAO and I to proceed along the lines that with the information we have at hand, we see some difficulties with this.
I agree with that. However, putting our concerns out there, we don't know what all our concerns are because we don't have enough information. All we have is assumptions on our concerns.
And that can be
That's
one
what
of the
I'm- that's what I'm
concerns that we
saying.
express. I think we just don't want to go into these meetings blind with no idea how council wants us to proceed.
They may invite all of council, I don't know.
Yes, but it could certainly be open, we don't know. But,
They've already got it all planned.
I don't know. I see no one else left to speak. There's a motion on the floor. We'll go to the vote. And the motion is passed unanimously. Okay, we are 3 minutes from our public hearing. What's the next item on correspondence for decision? And we
CAO
might be
party
able to do,
session.
we might be able to set this date in 3 minutes. Let's give it a shot.
You're brave.
Council has been asked to consider booking a CAO priority session on Thursday, September 3rd, or at another time acceptable to council and the CAO. So I believe September the 3rd is traditionally left open in case there's anything over from August that has to be dealt with quickly. I'm not sure, but,
That's September 1st.
oh, okay.
That's the public information meeting.
All right, Counselor Perry.
I will move that we book September 3rd to have a CAO priority session.
Seconded by Counselor McPhee. Counselor Rhino.
Well, okay, if everybody wants it on the 3rd, that's fine, but I'll inform you now, I probably won't be here. I'm getting a new knee on the 25th, so I'm not probably gonna be very happy to have you be here that evening, so, but I do wish that it had been put off a little bit so I could hear those priorities. Thank you.
Well, we certainly could, if Counselor wishes, put it off until October. So,
You can do October 1st.
and, anyway, and, Counselor Garden Cole.
Thank you, Madam Warden. I'm going to make a motion that we put it off until,
There's a
Oh, okay.
motion on the floor. We
Okay.
have to move to table that motion, I believe, or amend it to change the date, I think would not change the intent of the motion. We'd still be having a meeting. So if you wish to do that.
okay, that's what I would like to amend the motion to have the meeting on October 1st rather than September 3rd.
Seconded by Counselor Miriam. Any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, we'll go to vote. Go to the vote. This is on the amendment. Two people who haven't voted yet, folks. Okay, motion is passed unanimously by those present in the room. All right, we'll go to the vote on the amended motion. Motion is passed unanimously by those present for the discussion. All right, we have reached the hour of 7:30, which is the time of our public hearing. We have 2 items on the public hearing agenda this evening. The purpose of this hearing is for council to hear input from the public prior to making a decision on the proposals. To the members of the public who have chosen to participate this evening, welcome. Please note that council's procedural policy requires that you not cheer, boo, clap, or otherwise disrupt this hearing. Everyone who wishes will have an opportunity to be heard. Tonight, council may approve, reject, or defer its decision to a later date. Council approval is required for the proposals to proceed. I will now ask the municipal clerk to outline when the public hearing advertisements were published.
Madam Warden, a public hearing notice appeared in the July 14th, 2026 and July 21st, 2026 editions of the Chronicle Herald. The notices described the proposals, gave the date and time of this public hearing, and indicated the staff reports were available to the public.
Thank you. Councilors, the first public hearing item this evening is a mapping amendment application from Andrew and Julie Gilby. I will now ask the Chair of the Planning Advisory Committee to present his report. Councilor Mitchell.
Planning Advisory Committee has considered the proposal on behalf of Municipal Council. The committee has reviewed staff reports, completed their evaluation, and will make a recommendation to council during this hearing. Madam Warden, through you, I would now ask staff to present their final report on the proposal.
Nice. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Warden. So the subject property is 809 Horn Settlement Road. The property's area is 23 acres. It's currently split zoned rural use and established residential neighborhood zone. The application relates to just the rural use portion of the property. So the applicants are proposing to change the zone and designation from rural use to established residential designation and zone. The application is to enable the construction of a private road and then subdivide off that private road. In the rural use zone, new roads are not permitted, so the redesignation and rezoning will result in the whole property being established residential neighborhood designation and zone, and to permit that private road. So the applicant suggests an additional 8 lots could be created, so that's 9 lots total, although the land would need to be surveyed and meet the requirements of the subdivision bylaw. And this is just their concept. So here are the proposed amendments. The entire property would be established residential neighborhood designation on the left and zone on the right. So staff have referred to the MPS policies associated with the rural use designation, as well as general policies related to amending the MPS and land use bylaw. Policy IM10 states council shall consider this type of application, and policy IM19B states council shall have regard for the adequacy of site conditions for private and on-site septic and water systems. So the applicants engaged a hydrogeologist to conduct a level 1 groundwater assessment for the property. The study found no potential environmental concerns related to the development. The underlying aquifer is capable of supplying sufficient water quantity and quality with conventional in-home treatment systems for the proposed development. The study suggests that if the number of lots does increase, the study should be reviewed. So planning staff contacted the fire department, RCMP, and the municipal infrastructure and operations department for comments. There were no concerns with the rezoning of the property. They just highlighted that the new private road will have to comply with the municipal standards for private roads. Nova Scotia Public Works was also contacted, and they do not anticipate a negative impact on the road network. Private road access can be obtained in the vicinity of the existing residential driveway on the property. So an advertisement outlining the proposal and indicating that it was under review was placed in a May edition of the Chronicle Herald. There was a public information meeting held on June 2nd. This was for 3 applications, 14 people attended. There was only 1 comment about this application, and it was just to clarify if any of the neighboring properties would be rezoned as well, and staff indicated that this was a site-specific amendment. So questionnaires were mailed out to all the properties within 300 meters of the subject property to allow residents the opportunity to comment on the application. 111 questionnaires were sent out and 7 were returned. Most letters indicated no concern or oppositions. There were some concerns about where the proposed road would join Horn Settlement Road. They would prefer if the road would be located on the other side of the property. Again, there were concerns about land use changes to adjacent properties. Resident asked if there would be any businesses on the properties or if it would just be private dwellings. There were also questions about where the homes would draw their water. And then there was just general discussion on neighborhood pride and the wish to maintain the peaceful nature of the area. So a letter was mailed to property owners again within 300 meters indicating the date and time of this public hearing. As we mentioned, a notice of public hearing was placed in the July 14th and 21st editions of the Chronicle Herald, and the municipal website and social media pages have been updated regularly. So staff have reviewed the proposal for portion of the subject property to be rezoned and redesignated to establish residential neighborhood designation and zone. The proposed amendments have been evaluated using all applicable policies in the MPS, and staff are recommending approval of this application. Council's decision on this application is not appealable to the Nova Scotia Regulatory and Appeals Board. Thank you.
Thank you. Does any member of council have any questions for staff? Seeing none, I would now ask if the applicant has any comments or would like to make a presentation.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Andrew Gilby. I'm here with my wife, Julie, daughter Grace, and son Gage. I guess most everybody here was at the public information meeting the last time we were here, so I think everyone is, I guess, pretty well aware of what we're trying to do and accomplish. I guess I would first like to thank the staff and everybody here for it, going through this process for the first time, recognizing how much work and detail goes into this. We read through some of the stuff was online a couple nights ago, and reading through it, like, there's a lot that goes into this. There's a lot of detail. There's a lot of, engaging the public. So it's kind of eye-opening that, that this stuff happens. And so we appreciate everyone's efforts on it. And after the previous conversation about the RCMP and police, there's way bigger problems than what we're trying to get through here tonight. So I'll keep it short and sweet. We are working our way through this. I can touch on a few points that were brought up by some of the questions. We would be certainly open to moving the driveway over to the other side of the road. We have no preference. If that appeases to a neighbor that asks a question, we're okay with that. I think some of it falls in line with sight lines and stopping distances based on the speed limits or speed zone of the area. We have to work our way through that with the engineer. But we're certainly not opposed to any of that if that helps, makes this easier for someone else. I think the hydrogeological study indicated that they preferred drilled wells on the properties, which most of these properties will have drilled wells. I don't think, living in that area now, I don't think dug wells are doing that well. We've had some friends and family live close by that have dug wells, and they don't produce a lot of water, but I suspect most everybody on drilled wells, we're not putting any kind of water system out of the lake. We will, our intent is, keeping the peacefulness and the natural character. We're from the community. We live on the lake now. We want to create a very nice property and have lots for our kids and extended family. And it will be our intent is to have a very well designed and, nice property that only adds to the community and doesn't take away from it. So we will respect the natural character of the area. We're not, like I said in the previous meeting, we're not looking to put in a big building or apartment building or, have public boat launch or anything. This is a private family compound, and And that's really, all we're looking to intend to do. So that's really it for me. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you very much. I will now open the floor for comments and questions. If you are viewing the YouTube live stream, you may use the YouTube chat feature, which is being monitored. First, does anyone attending in person have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I would ask if any member of the public has any questions or comments through the live chat on YouTube. No, no one is waiting to speak there. Does any member of staff have any final comments? No? I would now ask the chair of the Planning Advisory Committee to present his committee's recommendation. Councillor Mitchell.
Planning Advisory Committee recommends the council give second reading and approve the proposal for a portion of PID 450-80801 to amend the municipal planning strategy and land use bylaw by changing from rural use zone and designation to the established residential neighborhood zone and designation. As Chair of PAC, I so move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Are there any final questions or comments from municipal councilors? Seeing none, we'll go to the vote. And the motion is passed unanimously. Okay, councilors, the second public hearing item this evening is a development agreement application from Barry Hill and Darren Lawrence. I would now ask the chair of the Planning Advisory Committee to present his report.
Planning Advisory Committee has considered the proposal on behalf of Municipal Council. The committees have reviewed staff reports, complete their evaluation, and will make a recommendation to council during this hearing. Madam Warden, through you, I would now ask staff to present their final report on the proposal.
Thank you, Madam Warden. So the applicant is Barry Hill and Darren Lawrence. The location of the property is located in South Maitland along Highway 236. The subject property is outlined here in red. The approximate size is 50 acres. And the proposal is to enter into a development agreement to permit a motocross track on land zoned rural use north RU2 zone. There is currently an existing house and barn on land, and the land had been used for agricultural purposes. So the neighboring zones are also rural use north, and there's the 5 Mile River to the south of the property. The 5 Mile River starting at the high water mark and going to a depth of about 30 meters. There's the watercourse greenbelt along that. And then in between the river and the subject land, there's the former DAR line, and that is zoned open space. The Rural Use North Zone permits any potentially obnoxious commercial developments to include vehicle racetracks and amusement park uses by development agreement. In addition to the motocross track, the applicant is also proposing to construct supporting structures such as a tower, bleachers, parking area, portable washrooms, and a temporary canteen. The house is located on the subject properties to remain, and at this time, the applicant proposes the use of the motocross track for practices with events taking place in the future, and the DA does include provisions for future events. The development agreement includes hours of operation that extend from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. So here is the site plan for the motocross track. As you can see, the brown squiggly lines is the actual track. There is an existing driveway there that wouldn't be able to be used for the motocross track. A new driveway would have to be installed here, and personnel would have to be on site to direct traffic during motocross events. So this is where Nova Scotia Public Works has indicated that the driveway shall be located. And they're providing parking for 90 parking stalls here in the rear. They're showing canteens, washrooms, a first aid station, bleachers, and the tower. And also, there will be another parking area, and that driveway is approved by Nova Scotia Public Works, is okay by them. It just has to be upgraded for the use of the property. And this here would be for the pit area where you have your utility trailers at. And I should mention that the applicant is proposing to maintain a green buffer along that south of the property line here. And this is an aerial photo of the subject property, and it just shows the tract that they'd started. So it's policy AR 39 of the municipal planning strategy that permits council to consider the development agreement application. So as part of the application, staff contacted Nova Scotia Public Works about the driveways, and they, as I mentioned, they did supply feedback and indicated that they were required to have a new driveway location that would allow for that commercial use. And it has been updated on the site plan. The pit area is acceptable, but the driveway will require upgrades for the larger vehicles. Maitland and District Volunteer Fire Department have no issues with the proposed development, and the RCMP have provided planning staff with comments on the proposed development. And one of their concerns was that the proposed ingress-egress to the site shall accommodate access for emergency vehicles. Their RCMP have requested that the applicant have parking control personnel for motocross events, and that requirement has been included in the draft development agreement. Ensuring that there's adequate parking for the motocross events was another concern, and as mentioned, they provided parking for 90 parking stalls, and then in addition to that, they have a pit and utility trailer area for the motocross events. The applicant will be required to build, And under citizen engagement, so an advertisement outlining the proposal and indicating that it was a review under staff was placed in the Chronicle Herald. A letter and questionnaire was mailed out to all property owners within 300 meters of the subject property, asking for comments on the proposed application. So we mailed out 28 letters, and we had 7 responses. And the responses were mostly positive. There were 2 concerns mentioned, and that was in regards to parking, as I mentioned, and the concerns around traffic if people were trying to park along the road. And as I said, they've provided parking for 90 people or 90 stalls. And the other concern was potential noise. And motocross events do have noise, but we've limited the hours of operation from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. This application, as with all development agreements, is appealable to the Nova Scotia Regulatory and Appeals Board. And below here is just the process that we followed, and we're at the public hearing tonight. And if council approves or refuses, the applicant and the public have the right to appeal. Thank you, Madam Warden.
Thank you. Does any member of council have questions for staff? Councillor Mitchell?
Yes, thank you, Madam Warden. Looking at the diagram, my question for staff is, how do you connect the pit area? How is it that pit area connected to the other part, the track area? I don't see a roadway and a path.
Through Madam Chair, they probably will drop off their, they may drop off the bikes here, or they may put in a path to that area. Not all of the pedestrian pathways have been showing on here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just concerned they might have to go back out on the roadway, that's all.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Councillor Garden Cole?
Thank you, Madam Warden. Just a couple of, I want to acknowledge the concerns of the residents nearby. And so when it comes to parking, I understand that parking on the road would not be ideal for any event, but I see that they've put in 90, so hopefully that will suffice. And of course, the noise issue. So is this just because I'm very familiar with dirt bikes and even tracks back at Ledwidge's, is this a competition-only track, or is it a training and practice track as well? Just trying to get an idea of how often there will be dirt bikes on this track.
Through you, Madam Warden, from what I understand, it's initially going to be used for a practice track with possible future events taking place, but the intention right now is for a practice track.
So in saying that, could there be someone on it every day or just on Saturdays, or has that been hammered down?
Through you, Madam Warden, there could potentially be people on it during the days. And when I talked to the applicant, they said if they were going to hold events, it would be during like once a month kind of thing on a weekend type event. But yes, there could be people on it daily.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Okay, I would now ask if the applicant has any comments or would like to make a presentation.
I guess I'm elected to speak. I don't have a lot to add, except that I want to thank Debbie, because I'm sure I was the epitome of the biggest bother ever. If it wasn't for her, I'd have never got through this. And we've worked together hand in hand. We have tried to come up with every option we could to fix everybody's concerns, such as the parking, the overflow parking, the path down to the track from the overflow parking. It's already there, just needs to be spruced up a little. And they've come out and showed us where the new driveway was, they'd like to see it. And the other driveway widened out. We gave the dimensions to them that they wanted. And I guess it's just kind of up to council now, if it goes through, before we do anything else.
Thank you, Carla. Okay. I will now open the floor for comments and questions. If you're viewing the YouTube live stream, you may use the YouTube chat feature, which is being monitored. But first, does anyone attending in person have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I would ask if any member of the public has any questions or comments through the live chat on YouTube. No? Does any member of staff have any final comments?
No.
I would now ask the chair of the Planning Advisory Committee to present his committee's recommendation.
Planning Advisory Committee recommends that council give final consideration and approval to enter into development agreement for a motocross track use located on property identified as PID 451-04403, 1160 Highway 236, South Maitland, signed within 1 year of council's approval. As chair of PAC, I so move.
Seconded by Councillor Rhino. And any final questions or comments from municipal councillors? We'll go to Councillor Rhino.
Thank you, Madam Warden. I believe that this opportunity is another attraction for tourism and such in the Hants North area. I've talked to a lot of people. I have the biggest district, all in East Hants, geographical district. I've talked to a lot of people. People in Walton have mentioned it. People in Knoll have mentioned it. People through Knoll Road have mentioned it, and up down the shore. And that was mostly all positive. You're not going to please everybody. There's going to be always some naysayers, but I think, this, as I said, this is another attraction. We used to have the Maitland Dragway down there. That brought in a lot of people. This has the potential to bring in more people, has the potential to create some employment if it goes to bigger events. There's tracks, motocross is definitely growing bigger, right across the province and right across Canada. And I think that if the development agreement is followed, I think there should be hopefully no problems heading down the road. So I'm in full support of this, and I hope council is as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Does any other councillor have any final comments or questions? Seeing none, we'll go to the vote. Motion is passed unanimously. So that concludes tonight's public hearings, and I would just like to thank everybody for attending. So, councillors, we'll return to the agenda and we will go back to correspondence for decision. So we'll go to item 20, which was a letter from Jeff Mercer, the Executive Director and Chief Librarian from the Colchester East Hants Public Library, requesting repair and paving of a driveway and parking lot at the Mount Uniacke Library. Alana. Go ahead.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Warden. So as you mentioned, the request before you was from the Colchester East Hants Public Library Executive Director, Chief Librarian, for the paving of the parking lot of the Mount Uniacke Library. So staff have looked at this. We don't have this listed as a project, nor do we have funding identified. And estimates for this kind of work would be around $75,000. So from a staff recommendation, we would suggest that council, if you wanted to support this, would actually bring it forward as part of 27-28 budget discussions, and that would allow us time to, determine funding sources, et cetera, but certainly up for council discussion and consideration.
Counselor Perry.
I wholeheartedly agree with staff. As we see a lot of things in flux coming up in the next number of months, and we are over halfway throughout the year, I think this is something that we should bring to budget discussions. No definitive answer whether it's going to be done or not be done, but to be discussed at budget time in 26-27. So I will move that the conversation around paving the Uniacke Library be brought up at budget discussions for 26-27.
Moved and
Or
seconded.
27-28,
Yeah, I'm
sorry.
just gonna say, I think you mean
27-28.
27-28.
Yeah, I can't go back in the past, sorry.
Okay. Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll go to the vote. And the motion is passed unanimously. And someone will contact Mr. Mercer and let him know we're putting that into our budget discussions. Next item. Due to staff availability for the September 1st, 2026 public information meeting, staff are seeking an alternative date to hold a PM anticipating 4 topics. Staff suggests September 14th or 21st, or another date at council's discretion.
And a reminder, councilors don't have to come to the PIM.
No, I understand that, but depending on what it is, there might be counselors that wish to attend. My only suggestion would be that in the interest of perhaps, there are some things that I expect will be coming up with these PIMs that folks would be hoping we would get through the PIM and perhaps be able to have a report and some recommendation at committee in September, which would require the PIM being held prior to the 15th. So, Counselor Perry.
Thank you, Warden. I understand your comment about having it done and have a report. I just don't know if it's feasible to have a meeting the day before and a report generated for the next day. I would move that the 14th or 21st be set aside for the PIM based on staff's availability. But if it's the will that you want it done before then you'd have to look at moving it to a different date, because I just don't think the 14th will work for any type of report that comes into us at the standard that our staff brings to be done in zero time, because if the meeting's in the evening, there's no time to do a report until the next day. So, yeah, I'll wait and see what other counselors like to say.
So you're moving, or you're gonna wait?
I'm gonna wait.
Okay.
I was gonna move that we do it based on staff availability. And, but I'll wait to see if anybody else has anything to say.
Okay. Well, Counselor Mitchell.
Just a question through you to staff, could they go the week before? Tuesday the 8th?
We're here.
That would give them time to do a report for the 15th. Looking at the calendar.
I think the staff read up the country.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the issue, Madam Warden, is I don't think all the staff that need to be at that meeting are gonna be available until the week of the 14th.
Okay.
Is there any chance we could do, are any staff available that we could, if there are 4, That's a lot to do in one night
Yeah.
anyway. Could we do two?
Yes,
And
so the week
two.
before, there would just be one staff person, critical staff person missing, so there are probably some applications we could bring forward to a PIM the week of the 7th. That's the Labor Day weekend.
I guess my concern is that these are issues that have been brought to council, and we are off for the month of August,
Yeah.
which already has these folks waiting an extra month. And to put it late enough into September, but that adds another month to the process, is not ideal. So I guess it's no secret, what are the 4 items that we would be looking at going to a PIM for in September?
They are let me see here. Yeah, so if you're willing to come to 2 nights that month, then the 8th we could do as well. Let me just find the.
I believe one is the changes to the subdivision bylaw for churches and cemeteries.
Yes, that is one of them. The other ones,
Townhouse parking,
no, it's the, would be the 100 unit maximum under DA, so that would be another one. And the other 2 I don't have in front of me, so they're from an earlier applications. So. Yeah, I think that is, yeah, let me just, find another document here.
well, it's kind of hard to make a decision.
Until
I'd
you know,
really,
yeah.
I'd like to know what we could do on the 8th and what would have to wait.
Well, so Madam Warden, if you would just want to set this aside for a bit, then I'll go back and look and tell you exactly which applications are coming
And
forward.
which could be done earlier and which would have to wait. Okay, so someone remind me to go back to John later. Is that okay with counselors? Okay, next item. The paving of subdivision J-class roads. Is that Jesse or, no, that's Kim, okay. Go ahead, Sierra.
Through you, Madam Warden, this is an agreement that's very similar to agreements you've approved in the past. We do need a motion of council to sign it based on the provincial requirements, and it essentially enables you to enter into the paving agreements with the province that may come up. It's not a paving agreement for a particular road, it enables us to enter into them at a future date, and we do need a motion of council to approve signing the agreement, and then I can sign it.
Is someone prepared to make that motion? Councillor McPhee.
Thank you, Warden. I move the council approves entering into a 3-year agreement with the province entitled Parking of,
Paving.
or Paving of Subdivision J-Class Streets Agreement, which will be active until March 31st, 2030.
Second that.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll go to the vote. And the motion is passed unanimously by those present. Okay, that concludes correspondence for decision. We'll go through these first readings and second readings, and then maybe we'll circle back to John before we go into the committee reports, or we can wait till PAC report. So next is Councillor Perry, and it is first reading of bylaw IO-300-2, an amendment to bylaw IO-300, a bylaw respecting the regulation of connections and discharges to public sewer systems. Go ahead, Councillor Perry.
Thank you, Madam Warden, sorry, not Water.
Long day.
At the regular meeting of okay, first reading bylaw IO 300-2, an amendment to bylaw IO 300, a bylaw restricting the regulations. The Infrastructure and Operations Committee received a staff report at the July 21st, 2026 Executive Committee meeting regarding the sewer bylaw, recommending that the bylaw be updated to decrease the allowance of biochemical oxygen demand, the BOD concentration. The Infrastructure and Operations Committee recommends that council give first reading to bylaw IO 300-2, an amendment to bylaw IO 300, a bylaw respecting the regulation, connections, and discharge to public sewer systems, the sewer bylaw, as attached to the Executive Committee agenda of July 21st, 2026. Chair of the committee, I so move.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we will go to the vote. The motion is passed unanimously. Next, we are looking at second reading of bylaw F-300-1, an amendment to bylaw F-300 bylaw respecting the maintenance and improvements of private roads. And we will go to Councillor Garden Cole.
The Corporate and Residential Services Committee, second reading, bylaw F-300-1, an amendment to bylaw F-300 respecting the maintenance and improvement of private roads. The Corporate and Residential Services Committee received a staff report at the June 16, 2026 Executive Committee meeting regarding housekeeping amendments for bylaw F-300 to change the fee charged to road associations per motion C-24-422, reducing the fee from 5% to 3%. The reduction was included in the 25-26 budget, and the bylaw amendment is the final change needed. First reading was done in June, and second reading can now proceed. The Corporate and Residential Services Committee recommends that council give second reading to bylaw F-300-1, an amendment to bylaw F-300, a bylaw respecting the maintenance and improvement of private roads as attached to the Executive Committee agenda dated June 16, 2026. As chair of the committee, I so move.
Seconded by Councillor Merriam. Is there any discussion on the motion? Councillor Musa.
Thank you, Madam Warden. I think that reduction is very good. I would like to see it at 0, but 3% is better than 5%. And we already hearing some good feedback from the community about that, and they're happy with it. So I will be in full support of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll go to the vote. Motion is passed unanimously. Okay. Okay, we will go back to, bear with me, John, with our
Okay.
question on public information meetings.
Thank you, Madam Warden. Okay, so the two applications that would be ready to go for the week of the 8th would be the 100-unit change and the LeGros-Williams rezoning application in Lance. And then we would have to wait for, say, the 15th for the Swinks application as well as the cemetery report.
I'm quite disappointed to hear that, because the one is very time sensitive, but it is what it is, I guess. So there's no way these could be had before the 14th.
We could, if it's important to council, we would just have to bring another staff person in to stand in for the planner whose application it is. And we could do that. It's not ideal, but we could do that.
Okay, Councillor Perry.
I would not be in favor of having another planner stand in because they wouldn't know the intricacies of the person who's handling the file. If the public do have any question marks, I understand it could be an inconvenience, but there have been plenty of inconveniences done for multiple different applications based on this. If the only way that we avoid this is have more staff. staff need to have the ability to go on vacation, and they have every right to do it. So if it creates an inconvenience, that's just the way it is based upon our numbering levels. And I don't think that we should put other staff under stress to try and meet something that, when the director has clearly said that he can do 2 on 1 and the 1 on the other, it's, I don't think we should be picking based upon applicants. We should just be looking at what can be processed. And if we want things to be able to be processed at any time, then we need to look at budget and hiring a lot more people. Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Garden Cole.
Thank you, Madam Warden. So is there a different setup that we can do? Is there a different combination that would allow for the cemetery one to come forward first?
Through you, Madam Warden, again, the way to do that would be another staff person would fill in for the planner that's going to be away. And again, we can do that. It's not, as I said, it's not ideal for the reasons Councillor Perry cited, but it could be done.
Counselor Mitchell.
Thank you, Madam Warden. Looking at the calendar, is the PIM on the 1st still going?
Sorry,
On the calendar up there?
Yeah.
Public information on the 1st, Tuesday the 1st?
Well, that was the original schedule, but I've got even more staff away that week, so
Okay,
that's. what we
so
have
we're
to
looking
do.
at the 8th and beyond?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, just trying to get some clarification, thanks.
I would just ask the deputy warden if he would take the chair for a moment.
Okay, go ahead, Madam Warden.
I guess I don't quite share the deep concern about having our staff stand in for one another. We have very, very efficient staff. And some of these PIMs, they're not public hearings, they're public information meetings. And I think that all our staff are quite capable of presenting the reports, and it's not like these are deeply, deeply complicated reports. So personally, I would have no problem with having other staff stand in and try and move these items along and not add another month to a process for some of these things, but that is simply my opinion. Yes, staff are certainly entitled to have a vacation, but the business of the municipality has to continue, whether we have staff on vacation or not. Thank you.
Is that everything, Madam Warden?
That's it.
Okay, now we'll go to Councillor Tingley.
Through the chair, if the development that, or the situation that the warden is looking at is that important, is there any possibility, or would it be reasonable to switch with another PIM that's going to happen? Like, would one of those be upset if the date was changed?
Through Madam Warden, it's not really a matter of like time on the agenda, it's the people available.
Okay,
So,
okay.
again, first is what we would normally schedule, but I've got some folks away. I've got one back on the next week, and they're both back the week after that.
Understood.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. According to the schedule that you have presented, the ideal schedule, is that the order in which the applicants were received? Because to me, it's everything's a pressing issue for every one of these people. And whether it's time sensitive or not, I don't believe we should be showing favoritism to any applicant. When they come in, it should be done in order. And pushing things forward based on somebody else's need, it should be done in the process that they're received.
Through you, Madam Warden, it's not really an issue of capacity or one sort of bumping in front of another. You know, we always take these things when they're ready, regardless of when they come in. And, you know, some things just happen faster, getting comments back from reviewing agencies and so on. So it's really just, the issue here is staff availability.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. I kind of tend to agree with the warden. This is July 29th, if I'm not mistaken. You're looking for what, September the 8th or whatever? If staff can update another staff member to stand in for a public information meeting in that amount of time, we're in serious difficulty. Thank you.
Was that everything? Seeing no one else to speak, I'm gonna ask the director a question. Do you feel that staff would be ready for the 8th if we could, in the time permitted?
Through you, Madam Warden, yes, we could. Again, we always prefer that the planner whose file it is there for the PIM, but as I said earlier, we could do it.
Thank you. I'm gonna pass the chair back to the warden, please. Thank you.
All right. So council, what is the wish? We have heard we can split it in two, we can do it all later. We have indication from staff that if it's council's wish, they can do them all, I believe, on the 8th. Is that correct, John?
That's correct.
Councilor Rhino.
I move that all PIMs would be directed to September the 8th.
Do we have a seconder?
Second that.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Councilor Musa. Trying here.
So the director said he could move one, so now we're adding another one? So we're gonna do all four at the same day?
Yeah, it's basically the same issue. You know, we could do them all on one night. That, like, doing 4 on a night is not usually an issue unless they're very controversial. It was just a matter of who was available. So, you know, whether we do all 4 on the 8th or not doesn't, or 3, it doesn't matter.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Perry.
I can't support the motion based upon the availability of staff, and I believe that we are getting in the weeds in the operation and showing favoritism towards certain applications we want processed in a certain time for certain applicants, and this does not happen for every applicant that comes in. Thank you.
Councilor Mitchell.
Through you, Madam Warden, to staff is, John, you're saying it's doable to do all 4, and how much time would we require, do you think, to get through 4?
You never know with the PIM, Madam Chair. You know, it could take 10 minutes for an item or 40 minutes. With these 4, I'm sure we'll be out of there in a couple of hours.
Okay. Okay, if you're comfortable, I'm comfortable.
Any further questions? Seeing none, we'll go to the vote. Motion is passed by a vote of 9-2, with Councilors Musa and Perry voting nay. And I would just like to comment that this is not intended to move any application ahead of any other application. It is intended to keep these PIMs as close to the regularly scheduled PIM date that these all would be expecting. Thank you. Okay, next on our agenda is the Municipal Firefighter Long Service Awards Annual Report. I'm guessing that's Adam? Go ahead.
Yeah, through you, Madam Warden, or to council, just, this is an item on your correspondence. We could have a motion to accept it. It really is an information item for council. We've started putting this on your agenda a few years ago, just as an awareness factor for council as a whole. So it's here, you can accept it, we process it according to policy through your annual.
So you don't need a motion for this, it's just an informational report?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Rhino.
Just wanted to point out that there is an error in that the 15 years of service by Chris Thompson is not through the Kennebunk District Fire Department. It's through Maitland.
Through you, Madam Warden, thank you, Counselor, for that, and we'll modify it.
Deputy Warden?
Thank you, Madam Warden. Question I have about the awards, we present the awards and the volunteer service, these black lapels or labels for them. Did, most times it's a different design, like the province, the federal, municipal government. I do not care for the black ones. I think that we should really look at a different color, more like the province and the other levels of government. I don't know if that's ever been discussed or how that decision came. It's been brought to me by members of Enfield as well as members of Milford.
Adam?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Warden. That's something we'll take back to staff. I'm not sure how many we have in inventory. We do order them kind of in bulk. But absolutely, when we work through our inventory, we could look at a different color selection. I guess the other thing I would say is that I didn't mention earlier is these awards, we typically notify the counselors of the area as part of it. They do go to the departments themselves, the 10 and 15-year awards. So sometimes counselors may present them, other times the department will present them themselves. It's a little less formal than your annual awards event as part of the Volunteer Recognition Week. So we will definitely be keeping council informed of the awards in their area. And then the other piece I'll note, you have a motion on the books for, it'll be coming back to you in September. There was a request from the fire service around adding in the service bars for the station gear. So we'll have a report forward back, which is separate from this, but sometimes the topics can get interchanged.
Great, thank you.
Counselor Rhino?
Yeah, through you, did I hear, like, I guess the last time that I presented these, to the some of my fire departments, did I hear that's gonna be the case again, that you will contact the counselor from the area to do this, or can you clarify that, please?
I think it's usually left up to the fire department. Adam?
Yeah, through you, Madam Warren. I believe Amanda reaches out to the fire departments and also makes the local councillor aware. We typically leave it up to the department to determine how they want to present it. Some do it on a general night, some do it as part of an awards banquet. Sometimes the local councillors are invited. It's not kind of a mandatory requirement,
Okay.
but we do keep everyone informed, but it does go to the chiefs of the department. Thank you for allowing me to clarify that.
Thank you. All right, so moving along. We'll go into our committee reports, and we will start with the Corporate and Residential Services Committee, Councillor Garden Cole.
The committee held regular meeting on July 21st, 2026 in council chambers. The following motions are coming forward as a result of that meeting. First item, carry forwards report. At the end of March 31st, 2026, there were several amounts that had been approved in the 25-26 budget that had not been entirely spent. Budget managers requested that some of these previous budget items be approved to be included in the 26-27 budget so the work can be finalized. The Corporate and Residential Services Committee recommends that Council ratify the transfer to reserves and year-end carry-forward amounts as presented in the 25-26 budget carry-forwards request report dated July 15, 2026, and presented on July 21st, 2026, be accepted and approved. As Chair of the Committee, I so move.
Second.
Seconded by Councillor Mitchell. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll go to the vote. Motion is passed unanimously.
Second item, Housing Accelerator Fund allocations report. The municipality was approved to receive $5.885 million through the Federal Housing Accelerator Fund in February 24. Following a review of spending and project timelines after the March 31st, 2026 fiscal year end, staff are recommending updates to current funding allocations to ensure all half funding is spent by the February 23rd, 2028 deadline. The Corporate and Residential Services Committee recommends that Council approve the reallocation of half funding as noted in Table 1 of the July 21st, 2026 report. As Chair of the Committee, I so move.
Second.
Well, that was a tie. Seconded by the Deputy Warden. Is there any, Councillor Tingley?
Question for staff. The $1,135,700 that was removed for the lift station at Highway 277, how will that impact that work? Or does it impact it at all?
Go ahead, Wade.
From a financial perspective, it won't impact the work. The funding will have, because we can't get that work done within the time frame needed to spend it on half. We're simply taking those half and allocating it elsewhere. But we will have to find funding for that elsewhere. And it may be through a debenture at the moment, but we will determine that as we move forward.
Okay, so the brutal honest fact is, it can't be done quick enough to.
Yeah.
Understood.
Yeah.
And so we'll be looking to find other funding and.
Exactly.
And the date when the work will be done will be determined.
Yes, yes.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll go to the vote. Motion is passed unanimously.
The Corporate and Residential Services Committee also recommends that council direct staff to draft the next iteration of the half funding update, consider funding 100% of the Mount Uniacke Streetlight Project. As chair of the committee, I so move.
Seconded by Councillor Musa. Is there any discussion on the motion? Councillor Musa.
Thank you, Madam Warden. I guess Jesse wasn't here last time to ask him the question. So what happened with that project? Like, did we buy all the lights? We were supposed to buy them all, right?
Through Madam Warden, as was talked, and we updated, actually, there was a meeting where we went through the scope at the Mount Uniacke Pizzeria, actually, with both of you. We went through the scope of what could be done and how many lights were included and what was out of scope. And there was no wiring availability for a section on one set of roads. And so we're waiting for development expansion, which was a large, that's in the Long Lake area. We're waiting for the developer to potentially go that route. And so we ordered the lights that were available for spots to go up, and that's what we did on scope.
Oh, okay, so we didn't buy the extra
Nope.
the extra lights, so, okay. Yeah, just wasn't sure if we should relocate them somewhere else, if we already bought them or something. Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll go to the vote. Motion is passed unanimously.
Item 3, potable water options during droughts. As its June 24th, 2026 meeting, council directed staff to explore drought response options with community organizations and bulk water carriers and confirmed the municipality would shift from bottled water distribution to education, conservation, and support programs. This report summarizes staff's findings, including limited bulk water capacity and a review of rain barrel programs. The Corporate and Residential Services Committee recommends that council direct staff to have the Municipal Climate Change Action Plan include an initiative on water scarcity and drought resilience planning as part of the plan update and to include a timeline and resources associated with the plan. As chair of the committee, I so move.
Second.
Seconded by Councillor Mitchell. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll go to the vote. Motion is passed unanimously.
The Corporate and Residential Services Committee also recommends that council direct staff to include a water conservation assistance program with a total program budget of $50,000 to support the purchase of rain barrels or water storage totes for eligible residential properties in the 27-28 draft budget for further discussion. As chair of the committee, I so move.
Second.
Seconded by the Deputy Warden. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll go to the vote. Motion is passed unanimously.
Item 4, Fire Service Review. At its March 26 regular meeting, council directed staff to report on options for a fire service review. Since then, provincial developments related to the fire service governance have emerged. The July report proposed a fire services master planning framework, including a community risk assessment and fire protection service review, to help council proactively assess current service delivery, future needs, and long-term planning ahead of provincial timelines. Based on subsequent discussion at the July 23rd regular meeting of council policy and in-camera meeting and further clarification, the following updated wording is recommended. That council authorize the chief administrative officer to undertake a fire protection service review and a fire services master plan with a project budget of $150,000 to be funded from GTR contingency reserve, and further, that engagement with council be done after each stage of the process. And that we thank the East Hants Fire Service Association for their June 2026 letter and respond with the following. Council is supportive of funding a fire service master planning process in collaboration with the East Hants Fire Service Association, and that the EHFSA will be invited to participate in the full process in a format to be determined by the chiefs. And that the municipality will utilize the results of the community risk assessment to complete a fire protection service review as part of a fire service master plan in collaboration with the EHFSA. And that due to the significant investment being made by council and the anticipated participation of the EHFSA, the results of the fire service master plan will be binding. I so move.
Seconded by Counselor Perry, I think was first. Any Deputy Warden?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess the question I have, one part of it says, and that the EHFSA will be invited to participate in the full process in a format to be determined by the chiefs. I'm taking that that would include comments from the fire personnel under that chief's operation? I don't think it's actually worded in there. Sorry.
Okay, CAO.
Through Madam Warden, so it's important that the chiefs are the group that we correspond with. The East Hants Fire Service are the chiefs.
Right.
So it's important for them to come to the table in the format that they want. At individual departments, the chief represents the department. However they gather that information from their personnel, or whether it might be the whole group that we engage with. It may be a subset. We will look to them to tell us that. And there may also be engagement with the whole fire service as well. So that is really to make sure that we're not telling them how we get information from them, that they come to the table and have that say.
My concern, I guess, to the CAO is not all chiefs relate to the fire service. And I think there's a lot of valuable firefighters that could contribute information to this, and hoping that we can include them in that.
Yeah, I would say the consultant that undertakes this work, I am almost positive, they're going to want to engage with the whole fire service in some manner. How that looks, we don't know at this point, but it'll be important that the chiefs buy into the methodology of the engagement.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Rhino.
Thank you, Madam Warden. So to be clear and kind of on that subject, collaboration then means information gathering. Would that be correct? Because I just want to get that clear, because collaboration means different things to different people, and some may take that as the municipality and the fire service are doing this together, where this is a review should be somewhat independent, but the information and it should be gathered through the East Hants Fire. So I just want to get this corrected on this meaning of collaboration.
Adam?
Yeah, through you, Madam Warden, it absolutely will be done by an independent body, like through a consultant. The piece we need to be mindful of is the legislation is doing this in collaboration or in conjunction, I'm not sure of the exact wording in the legislation, but involving our fire service providers.
Mm-hmm.
So we do, and we have a great relationship with the East Hants Fire Service, so it's a really good opportunity for council and them to be undertaking this together. So collaboration means they need to be part of the process. You know, we're gonna work through that with them, with how they, as the CAO mentioned, how they want to be engaged, and we'll be going through the Chiefs Association as our starting point to start to ask those questions.
Okay.
So collaboration, they need to be part of the process. It won't necessarily mean that they're driving the process, but they need to be involved in a meaningful way.
Yeah, so I guess my concern is we make that perfectly clear up front that they're independent from this independent person doing this, but they are there for information gathering and, questions being asked of them. I just don't want them to think this is part and parcel, us and the review person are doing this together. And I think it has to be independent, really, I really do. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions on the motion? Seeing none, we will go to the vote. Motion is passed unanimously.
That until the fire service review is complete, council requires any projects using fire levies that relate to capital spending to be approved by council. I so move.
Seconded by Councillor Hebb. Councillor Musa.
Sorry, I will not be supporting this motion. I know we have few fire department that already have some capital budget and they're saving some money for it, and anything that come to council could put them behind and they could miss out on a buy or something. So they've been doing it forever and they're the one on the ground. They know what they need, they know what they want, they know where the fire station is gonna go, so I will not be supporting this. I will rely on the experience of my firefighter before I rely on anybody here. Thank you.
Councillor Rhino.
Thank you, Madam Warden. I understand the process of this. However, my concern lies if there is something that has to be made a decision on quickly, will that not hold up that process by having to come to council for a decision? And this is where that I'm really concerned about this.
I think perhaps to answer that first, we should perhaps the wording of this motion is capital spending.
And I don't want to go into specifics,
I
right?
believe it would be major capital projects or something. I'm not thinking that, I don't know if a fire department needs to buy 6 new BAs, that they would have to come to council. So I just would go back to staff to see if there's something that, CAO.
Through you, Madam Warden, the intent here is for like major capital projects that wouldn't be sort of rush spending, things that would involve some long-term planning. And again, if fire departments have contracts let for things, then, that's not included in this because they do their own procurement, and if they have contractual obligations, that wouldn't be included. This would be any new spend that should be have long-term planning attached to it.
Well, I guess, I think we were in camera the last time we discussed this, and I brought up a specific item, and I just don't want to, things may have to be acted on quickly, and to hold this up or may possibly lose an opportunity because of the time frame has got me concerned. Like I say, I understand the purpose of it, but I'm wondering if we could give the CAO a little bit of room to authorize something.
Well, I was gonna say perhaps, it has been in the past, if I could weigh in, when fire departments have had something come up quickly that they needed approved. We have called emergency meetings to deal with those requests, and I don't think any can be done by Zoom, if it's a one-item thing, and I don't think any counselor ever objected to coming together to vote on whether or not to release money for a truck purchase
If that's
or
the way
something
we
like
can do
that.
this, I would be happy with that, but I just put people on notice that could very well happen, so.
So, I mean, do we need that added to the motion, or is that just simply understood that that's, okay?
Through you, Madam Warden, if we got a request at, August 10th, that they had to know by August 17th, if so it's something, then we would call a meeting of council.
Thank you.
By Zoom, not
Okay,
in person.
so thank you, that helps, thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, we will go to the vote. And the motion is passed by a vote of 10-1, with Counselor Musa voting nay.
Item 5, 2025-26 Annual Report, including the Treasurer's Report. The CAO and Director of Finance presented the 2025-26 Annual Report, including Treasurer's Report. Discussion ensued and questions were addressed by staff. Corporate and Residential Services Committee recommends that Council accepts the 2025-26 East Hants Annual Report, including Treasurer's Report, and that it be made available to the public. As Chair of the Committee, I so move.
Seconded by Counselor Merriam. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we will go to the vote. Motion is passed unanimously.
Item 6, DAR Land Management, Proposed DAR Corridor Legacy Encroachments Policy and the Municipal Fee Policy. During the July 23rd, 2026 regular meeting of Council and Policy and in-camera meeting, Council gave notice of intent to 2 policy updates, and Council can now consider approving the dates to those policies followed the required 7-day notice period. That Council consider adoption of the DAR Corridor Legacy Encroachments Policy as presented and attached to the July 23rd, 2026 regular meeting of Council, Policy and in-camera agenda. I so move.
Seconded by Counselor Mitchell. I'm going to ask the Deputy Warden to take the chair.
Okay, Madam Warden, go ahead, please.
Just a brief comment, certainly a lot of hard work and an excellent report from staff, but as I said at the committee meeting, I cannot in good conscience vote in favor for the simple reason that I would have preferred a more robust encroachment policy for the residents affected. An encroachment license that could have more easily followed with the property in case of sale or things like that. I just would have preferred a little more protection for the residents. Thank you.
Would you like me to finish this?
Sure.
Seeing no one else to speak, call for the vote. I'll pass the chair back to Madam Warden. Thank you.
And the motion is passed by a vote of 10-1 with myself voting nay.
That Council approve adding encroachment fees to the municipal fee policy as attached to the regular meeting of Council, Policy and in-camera agenda dated July 23rd, 2026. I so move.
Second.
Seconded by Counselor Tingley. Discussion on the motion? We'll go to the vote. The motion is passed by a vote of 10-1, once again with myself voting nay.
This concludes the report.
Thank you. Next, we will go to Parks, Rec, and Culture with Counselor Rhino.
Hey, Madam Warden. Committee held its regular meeting on July 21st, 2026 in Council Chambers. The following motions are coming forward as a result. Tin Smith Shop Museum operating options. Following the East Hants Historical Society's annual general meeting and successful completion of the governance review requirements, the municipality released the 2026 operating staff funding. So from that, the Parks, Recreation, and Culture Committee recommends that Council continue the current partnership model with the East Hants Museum Society there. I said the East Hants Historical. That should be corrected to the East Hants Museum Society. So I'll start again. Continue that the current partnership model between the East Hants Museum Society and the municipality, with the municipal staff providing support to strengthen the governance and operation, and request that the society develop a 3 to 5 year operational plan to help guide future operations and plan for available grant funding, and encourage the society to pursue additional grant opportunities to strengthen its operations and reduce reliance on municipal funding, and enlist a structural engineer to assist the building structure for better long-term planning up to $8,000 plus HST from professional fees reserve, and that the East Hants Museum Society be required to present to Council as part of the 27-28 budget discussions. As Chair of the Committee, I do so move.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll go to the vote. And the motion is passed unanimously.
This concludes my report.
Thank you. Next, we will move to the Infrastructure and Operations Committee. Counselor Perry.
Thank you, Madam Warden. The committee held its regular meeting on July 21st, 2026 in council chambers. The following motions are coming forward as a result of that meeting. Snow clearing standards for Mount Uniacke Business Park and municipal roads. Staff presented a report outlining a standalone service level to allow staff to utilize current contractor availability and gain a better understanding of the potential challenges posed by conducting snow clearance operations in the Uniacke Business Park. The current contract for snow clearing runs through 27-28 fiscal cycle, and this will allow for additional updates at that time. As a result, updates to the policy were suggested. The Infrastructure and Operations Committee recommends that Council approve the East Hants policy for winter clearing standards for roads and sidewalks as presented to the committee on July 21st, 2026, and that Council approve the East Hants policy for winter clearing standards for roads and sidewalks as attached to the July 21st, 26 committee agenda. As chair of the committee, I so move.
Seconded by Counselor Mitchell. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll go to the vote. Motion is passed unanimously.
Bylaw IO 300-2, an amendment to Bylaw IO 300. A bylaw respecting the regulation of connection and discharges to public sewer system updates was dealt with earlier in the meeting, so this concludes the report.
Thank you. Next, we will go to the Planning Advisory Committee report. Counselor Mitchell.
Thank you, Madam Warden. The committee held its regular meeting on July 21st, 2026 in council chambers. The following motions are coming forward as a result of this meeting. Number one, Plan 26-004, Andrew and Julie Gilby, redesignation, rezoning, infill, first reading, which was dealt with at the public hearing. Number two, Plan 26-009, Swinks Agro Engineering Limited, land use bylaw amendment. The municipality has received an application from Switz Agro Engineering Limited on behalf of the Atlantic Broilers Limited to amend the land use bylaw to reduce the minimum setback requirement for an intensive livestock operation use from a public road to the rural use north zone. The Planning Advisory Committee recommends the council direct staff to seek comments from the East Hants Agriculture Advisory Committee on the application to amend the municipal planning strategy and land use bylaw to allow an intense livestock operation in the rural use north zone, which does not meet the minimum separation distance in section 5.2.3 to be considered by development agreement, and authorize staff to schedule a public information meeting. As chair of the committee, I so move.
Seconded by Counselor Rhino. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll go to the vote. Motion is passed unanimously.
Number three, Plan 26-007, Berry Hill and Darren Lawrence, Development Agreement, final report. It was dealt with at the public hearing. Number four, amendments to official community plan regarding setbacks from cemeteries. Council directed staff to prepare amendments to the East End official community plan that would enable the subdivision of properties containing places of worship, former places of worship from cemeteries. Council directed that these amendments should enable reduced setback area and frontage requirements to permit the cemeteries and the buildings to be located on separate lots. The Planning Advisory Committee recommends that council authorize staff to schedule a public information meeting to consider an application for amendments to the municipal planning and subdivision bylaw to allow the subdivision of places of worship, former places of worship from cemeteries and all zones where there is deeded access to both lots. As chair of the committee, I so move.
Seconded by Counselor Rhino. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll go to the vote. Motion is passed unanimously.
Number five, municipal planning strategy policy regarding 100 units max in the DA initial report. Planning and development staff have been directed to change the MPS to not entertain any developments over 100 units without a second access to an arterial or collector road by development agreement. This report proposes a new policy.
I'm sorry, it's turned off. You saw me turn it off.
This
I
report
agree with
proposes
her.
a new policy
I don't
to
know
be
what's
added
wrong.
to Part D,
No, it's on.
realizing the plan of the municipal planning strategy, MPS, to address council's direction. The Planning Advisory Committee recommends that council authorize staff to schedule a public information meeting to consider a council proposal to amend the municipal planning strategy by adding a new policy to Part D, realizing the plan, which would only permit council to consider development agreements for more than 100 dwelling units where a proposed multiple unit development is serviced by more than one access to a collector or arterial street. As chair of the committee, I so move.
Do we have a seconder? Seconded by Counselor McPhee, Counselor Garden Cole.
Thank you, Madam Warden. I just wanted to comment on this because I've been on the fence about this topic since it first came up. And I see the need for action in this area, but I just can't decide what action is appropriate. So I was on the Lucasville Road the night that they were evacuated from Hammond's Plains area back a number of years ago when the fires happened. And one thing that I keep going back to is that they were exiting on the Sackville end because they weren't permitted to exit on the Hammond's Plains end of that road. And while the evacuation was steady, it wasn't panicked, crazy like it would have been in a subdivision or in a more densely populated area where everybody was desperate to get out all at the same time, where the houses are a little more staggered. It was a steady evacuation process. And I just keep thinking about that and wondering if by making a blanket motion that the whole municipality is going to be under this 100 dwelling units limit, that it might not be the best thing for the entire municipality. That maybe we should be looking at breaking this type of motion down to more densely populated areas versus more rural areas, or roads that could possibly be evacuated with less of a urgency or less chaos and panic. Obviously, if you're on a street that has 3 or 4 apartment buildings, or you're in a very densely populated area, everybody's gonna be trying to leave at the same time. So if you've got apartments and there's 2 apartments with 72 units and everybody's got 2 vehicles, everybody will literally be trying to get, 144 times 2 out at the same time if they're being evacuated. And I just see that as being different even though there's only one exit on a long road that might be in Enfield, or it might be in Mount Uniacke area, or it might be somewhere else, that it's going to be more of a staggered exit or a steady exit, not so much of a panicking, chaotic exit as it would be in a more densely populated area. So that's what I have come up with, and as a result of that, I would like to make a motion. Now, there's already a motion on the floor, so if my motion is different from the motion on the floor, what's my options?
If it's a different motion, we would have to deal with this motion first, I believe.
So I can't,
You can move to table this motion.
so there's no way of amending this, making an amendment to this motion?
Well, that would depend on what the amendment was, because the intent of this motion is for council would only consider development agreements for more than 100 dwelling units where a proposed multiple unit development is serviced by more than one access. So you would be very limited in what you could make for an amendment, I believe, that wouldn't change the intent of that motion.
Okay. So, and I mean, I don't know if council has an appetite for this, but I just feel like it's worth making it's worth putting a motion out there that this would be what my motion would be, given the opportunity. I just want to lay it out there for council, is that we look at putting 100 limit on more densely populated areas, and that would have to be determined.
Yeah, there'd have to be some more clarity
Yeah.
to that.
Okay, so I guess I would be looking for a motion to table this motion that's on the floor.
You can make that motion if you desire.
Okay, so I'm going to make a motion to table this motion. That's my motion.
Is there a seconder for the motion to table? There is no debate on the motion to table. So we'll go vote on the motion to table this motion. And the motion has failed by a vote of 8-3, with Councillor Rhino, Councillor Perry, and Councillor Garden Cole voting in favor to table and everyone else voting nay. Okay, we'll go back to the motion on the floor. It hasn't changed, Shirley. Oh, wait, I can do that myself, never mind. Okay, CAO, had you wished to speak? Okay, Councillor Perry.
Thank you, Madam Warden, and along the same lines as Councilor Garden Cole, I believe this is overregulation, and I do not believe in blanketing anything. We should be looking at things on a case-by-case basis, because there are always many contributing factors in any development, which can be access to water, length of road, frontage, and many different things. And just putting a blanket thing out there for 100 dwelling units and requiring these two things might take care of 70%, but there's still 25% that can be there. And I just don't think this is good policy. I think it's over government regulation, and I cannot support this motion.
Councillor Musa.
Thank you, Madam Warden. I'm glad Councillor Garden Cole mentioned that, but we're comparing Hammond's Plain Road or like Hammond's Plain Road to Old Anfield Road. Like, not degrading Old Anfield Road, but hardly any people on that. So if you have 100 homes, you could evacuate that in no time. Like,
Correction, we're not doing that. We're not comparing Hammond's Plains. We are simply discussing any development agreement anywhere with over 100 dwelling units. It could be the old Enfield Road, it could be Highway 2.
not even any road in East Hants come close to that road, like to what started the whole thing. That fire started the whole debate about this. That's why I'm saying we're comparing that fire that happened over there, that a possible fire that could happen here in East Hants. And we forgot that if we have an apartment building, you don't have to run away with your car. You could leave your car, you have insurance on your house, on your car, and you could run away on foot. So there is a lot of pathway between those apartment buildings. So we should be looking at something that encourages our development, not hinder our development, and we need that tax base all the time. So I wouldn't be supporting anything like that. So we should be looking at some new strategy and look at each area by itself. Like we have some, I could take a couple area in Mount Uniac that it's a dead end street, like Uniac Mines Road have 10 houses on it, and they have one subdivision of 100 homes, and we're stopping everything over there. So I don't think that's good governance. That's hindering development, and we should be looking at something. Could be safe, but could be open to new ideas, new development uses. Thing going on. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Tingley.
Through the chair, I'm going to support the motion because I think it's in line with the Fire Smart guidelines from what I understand. And I haven't heard anybody else present anything any better, or if somebody can present something that's can alleviate that concern, I'd be happy to hear it. The other thing, we're going to a PIM. We're not making a decision here tonight to do this. We're going to go to a public information meeting. I would like to hear what the public has to say about it. It's a big issue, not just here, right across Canada. So I wouldn't want to shut it down without going to a PIM. That's it.
Counselor Rhino.
Thank you, Madam Warden. I will not be supporting the motion because just for the fact I know the motion is to go to a PM. However, I think Councillor Garden Cole has brought up another idea and aspect, and I think we would be doing our due diligence if we took a little breather, listen to what her motion might add or might say, and then get a staff report on that. It may be something that may be doable. So I don't know why the rush on this. However, I'll respect the will of council, but I cannot support this motion, excuse me.
Counselor McPhee.
Thank you, Warden. It seems to be a bit of confusion here when we talk about things like the old Enfield Road. Well, you could go to trunk 14, you can come out to trunk 2. There's two ways out any place off of the old Enfield Road. If there were 100 homes in the road I live on, you could go to trunk 2, you could go to Route 224. There would be two ways out. If you are in the new Havenwood development and there's 150 homes in there, there's only one way out to trunk 2. So that's the kind of scenario we're talking about. And yeah, it's fire smart if you read it. That's what this is in line with. And it is a PIM that we're talking about, not making a final decision on anything. So I'll certainly be supporting the motion. Thank you.
John.
Thank you, Madam Warden. From a couple of comments, I just want to maybe clarify that this only applies to when a development agreement is triggered. So if you're on an existing road, you have an existing lot, doesn't matter if there's more than 100 dwelling units on that street, whether it's Uniac Mines or whatever, you can still build a house there. This is only when a development agreement is triggered for a multi-unit development.
Thank you. Any further comments or questions? Counselor Musa.
So you consider rezoning as a development, as something like that too, or subdividing or something like that, so.
Yeah. Well, so there's existing regulations that would impact your ability to subdivide. That is the 100 lot rule. So right now, council does have in the subdivision bylaw a rule that prevents you from creating more than 100 lots with one access. So that's separate from this 100 unit rule. And you know,
okay.
but where the lots have already been created, then nothing's going to stop you from getting a building permit there.
Thank you.
Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, we will go to the vote. And the vote is passed by a vote of 7-4, with Counselor Musa, Counselor Rhino, Counselor Perry, and Counselor Garden Cole voting nay. Oops, sorry, Counselor Mitchell. Go ahead.
The Planning Advisory Committee recommends that council direct staff to come back with a report on secondary access options across the municipality to make the community safer. As chair of the committee, I so move.
Seconded by Counselor McPhee. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll go to the vote. Motion is passed unanimously.
Number 6, plan review, what we heard report. Planning Advisory Committee received a report summarizing public consultation in the plan review to date. East Hants has sought active engagement from East Hants residents and property owners through visioning meetings, surveys, and interest holder meetings. Community engagement will continue throughout the planning process through community meetings, social media posts, and direct engagement with property owners whose property may be considered for a land use designation and zone change. Number 7, pre-application policy requests. The committee considered 2 requests under council's pre-application policy This policy enables developers an opportunity to request a discussion with PAC regarding a proposed development in camera prior to an application being submitted. The committee approved both requests, but has directed that the presentations be held in open committee instead of in camera. This concludes our report.
Thank you. All right, that brings us to the warden's report, so I'll turn the chair over to the deputy warden.
Okay, Madam Warden, go ahead, please.
I keep my report very brief this evening, as we still have a couple of in-camera items to deal with. I did attend the graduation at Hants North on June the 26th, in spite of the fact that they were expecting Councillor Rhino, and I know the crowd was disappointed. I did manage to get through it. On the 27th, I attended the opening of a memorial park at the Legion in Knoll, which was very enjoyable and well-attended, and they've certainly done a beautiful job there. Attended Canada Day celebrations watched the parade in Shubenacadie, and then took with a friend, took a drive down through the shore and dropped into several of the locations of interest along the shore drive, and did enjoy the day. Other than that, numerous community functions and presentations and directors' meetings, and just on the 27th, attended the directors' meeting with Councillor McPhee and the MLA, where a public photo was taken for the announcement of we're getting ready to begin those new apartments, those public housing in Shubenacadie, and we're pleased to say that instead of 16 units, there are now going to be 18. So anyway, that concludes my report at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Warden. I'm going to pass the chair back to you.
All right, we'll now move into business from councillors, and we'll start with Councillor Tingley.
Through the chair, I'm just going to discuss one item here tonight. I've had a lot of inquiries, quite a few inquiries actually, about bylaw issues, dust, lights, sewer, the sewer system, about connecting the sewer into the storm drain and stuff like that. And first, I want to prefix it by, I think staff generally provide good service on everything. But I end up with dozens of communication when somebody puts in a concern and says, could we look into the dust from this job site, or can you look into the lighting from this? And they're all bylaw issues, and it doesn't seem like there's a full explanation or a prompt response that goes back to the constituent. And I like to provide swift, accurate, friendly service to people, and I don't know what the timeline is for getting to the bottom of something, but I'd like to see a reasonable timeline on getting back and making a decision whether we're going to deal with these issues or not. And the issues are even worse with the province. Like I made a couple of motions that constituents came to me in January. I think I made the motions around Jake Brates on the connector and a crosswalk on the connector in Lance. And it's crickets. I don't get anything back from anybody. And I don't want to make a big issue of it, but I would like to know through staff, is there timelines on getting a firm answer on these things?
Okay, well, public member 2 wants to speak for some reason. Don't ask me how. Okay, go ahead, John.
Thank you, Madam Warden. To answer the councillor's question, there's not directly a specific, we'll get back to you in 24 hours or whatever number of days. It really depends on the issue. As soon as somebody puts a complaint in through our online portal, they immediately get an email back, an automatic email, so that they know that their complaint has been received. But we're also careful about what we tell complainants, because it's an investigation, it's an enforcement action potentially. So, you don't want to jeopardize an investigation by, I guess, telling folks too much, but we do probably err on the side of sharing information. But as I say, it depends on the issue, it depends on how quickly staff are able to get to it and so on. So there's not a service standard per se about getting back to a complainant within a specific period of time.
Well, let me give you an example. I've got one constituent, he's been complaining about dust for a year. And I don't know if anybody's gotten back to him and confirmed that, yeah, we know you have dust, it's reasonable, it's unreasonable, we're gonna do this, or there are precautions being taken. What staff know, but like a year is a long time. And like this particular guy, I must have 30 emails. And, he's a demanding constituent. And I have my own opinions about it, and I'm not trying to drive staff as to what the ultimate decision is, but I don't want to go on for a year. I don't feel like I'm providing good service that way.
But I do believe, and I'll refer to the CAO on this, I do believe at that particular instance, there have been responses.
Yeah, through you, Madam Warden, I don't think it's fair to say he's been complaining for a year and not gotten a response. We've been back and forth several times with individuals around dust. I don't know the person you're speaking about, but I can assume I know who it is.
You're right.
Because I'm copied on most of the emails to and from the individual. Our bylaw enforcement officer has been dealing with dust complaints both in Enfield and Lance. But I would say in this instance, bylaw enforcement isn't something that's done, it's not a back and forth communication. Like, you're not going to get direct communication back to somebody to say, this is, like, we don't update the complainant every step of the way. We go out and we investigate. It's not a back and forth between us.
I understand this, but let me ask.
Right, but you're making it sound like we're doing nothing for a year
Well, let me
about
ask a
dust.
question. Do we know if that contractor is taking reasonable precautions? Do we know that?
From everything that I've read and the communication that's been had, yes, I believe they are. And that has been communicated.
Okay, well, I'll accept that. I live there and I know what the situation is, but if that's what staff says, I'll accept that. But I haven't seen anything that went back to him and said, yes, they're taking.
I believe there's been at least two emails today saying that to that
Might have been
individual.
today, but this has been for a year.
But there have been other emails back and forth between he and our bylaw enforcement
Okay.
officer.
Okay.
And through you, Madam Warden, I would say it's not all the same case. Like if somebody put a complaint in last summer, that is not the same file as, a complaint that comes in 6 or 8 months later. It's like, obviously that one has been dealt with and so on, and now it's a new complaint that we're dealing with.
It's a different situation, but I live there and he's sending us photographs.
Yeah.
Like it's well documented.
Yeah, and
I think, Counselor, what we're being told is that staff have received the complaint.
And they've dealt with it,
And they
okay?
have dealt with it,
So-
and they have been in contact with the complainant.
So the other guy,
And we continue to be in contact with the developer.
right.
We will continue to monitor it because it is an ongoing construction site.
Well, the other couple of situations with the lighting, it was like, he was just dropped as far as I'm concerned. Like, nobody helped deal with the situation at all. And the fellow with the sewer, he's been asking about, can the municipality do an investigation into people dumping their sewer into or their storm drainage into the sewer? Because it's affecting him where he lives at the bottom of the street. And I don't think he's ever got a direct answer as to whether we can or will do anything to investigate it.
I do know that staff regularly, when they become aware of these situations, do take action on that.
So,
And
Okay,
through you, Madam Warden, I would say this about that particular case. That one is still an open file, I would say, so it hasn't been concluded yet.
okay. And so anyway, I'm airing what my concerns are with these people, and some of them have been going on for a year, and I think they're open, and they keep following up with me because they don't think they're getting an adequate response, and I'm gonna accept your response here that you give me tonight.
CAO?
So through you, Madam Warden, the bylaw process is a regulated process, and it doesn't involve counselors. So if we receive a bylaw complaint and it has been investigated and it has not, and it isn't what the person wants to see as a resolution, they may come to you as their counselor to say, this wasn't what I expected as a resolution, or I'm not happy with the service I received, or whatever that might be. In that case, you send those to me, and then I will look internally as to what's going on. When we get emails being sent to 2 different directors, in the case of Dust, we've had a meeting internally where I've just said, there's too many emails going around about Dust, because I can't keep track of who gets sent what, and then John responds, or Jesse responds, and then the bylaw officer's responding, and then the counselor's sending stuff to one director and not the other. Like, it's almost impossible to keep track of it all. So if we have issues with bylaw enforcement in particular, because it is a regulated process, those should come to me, and I will sort it out internally and get back to the counselor whether it was dealt with appropriately from my investigation. And I do investigate those things. Like, I pull the team together and say, okay, what have we done? What should have been done? What was expected? Where did we fall down? I do all of that. And I will respond back to the counselor. But in specifically with bylaw enforcement cases, it is not a back and forth between staff and counselors, staff, counselors, and the complainant. That can't be the process we follow, because it's not, it's just not okay.
Well, it might not be okay, but if they don't feel they're getting an answer, they're gonna contact me.
Right, and then you contact me.
Right.
I'm your employee.
You're CC'd to every one of them.
But I'm CC, but just contact me and I will sort it out
Well,
and get back to you. And if I feel like we've fallen down and not done the right thing by the complainant, I will.
Well, I've got
direct-
3 things here that have not been
Counselor,
sorted out. And
I would caution you, I just caution you to be respectful.
well, I'm gonna be respectful, but I'm going to advocate for my constituents.
That's fine.
And the same thing when dealing with the province. When they bring a concern and you raise it and it goes 6 months, 8 months, 9 months, or a year and you get no response, you know, how can you even help them? Like, does nobody have to respond to anything? You know, that's
Okay,
not a
I'm
fair,
going to
that's not a
address-
fair question.
I'm going to address, I believe that's an unfair question, because I do believe that municipal staff do their very best to reply to everything. The CAO has outlined the process, that if a counselor feels that an item has not been dealt with, or that they need further information on how it's been dealt with, then the avenue, as it has always been, is to go to our one and only employee, the CAO, and have her dig a little further. With regards to the province and their speed or lack thereof in responding to things, we have no control over that. We can certainly make a call, we can write another letter, but we have no way of forcing them to answer any faster than what they do.
Well, are we following up? Are we following up?
That would depend on the
on the topic.
situation, Counselor.
Can anybody get a straight answer?
So through you, Madam Warden, any issues that we send a letter to the province, and I'll use Jesse as an example, if we send a letter to the province on an issue, he will follow up with the province. If we have a meeting with them on a regional sort of transportation meeting, those issues all get brought up from a transportation perspective.
Yeah.
And then any updates to those motions that you've made or letters that are written, will be on your status update report that you get every month right before council. You get an update on the status of things. We can't control what the province does, but we certainly, when council has an issue that they want brought to the forefront, we try to keep that at the forefront, but we can't
I don't recall
can't
ever getting
force
an
the
update
province
on,
to
after the motion was made, other than a letter was sent. But I'm not gonna,
But those are followed up with staff. So
okay,
when we have the opportunity to, we do follow up with them.
right. I'm not gonna beat this to death any further. I'm just wanted to mention it. It's very uncomfortable when people follow up with you 3 months, 6 months, a year, and you've got nothing to report back. That's it.
Okay. No. Okay, next we will go to Counselor Musa. Soon as I find you here. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Warden. I had my lights on, but I thought I'm next, so I could ask my question. So my question is, we have all kind of bylaws here. Do we have enough officers, like bylaw officers, to address all those? Because I know, like, sometimes somebody call about blast in Mount Uniac, and you're like 35 minutes away, so everything happening there, you're not gonna be doing anything, right? So, but my question is, sometimes the resident was asked to contact me, so what I'm gonna do about that? So, I think if we have bylaws, we should have enough people to enforce them, or we should never have them, because when you have bylaws, the residents expect something from you, and if you don't have anybody to enforce it, we might not have them better. I think it's better not to have them. Thank you.
Do you have a comment on that, John?
Sure, thank you, Madam Warden. I would say we do. I mean, we have one very good bylaw enforcement officer right now, and in addition, when he's doing dog control, we have backup for that function. But remember, it's not an emergency service, so it's not a 911 service. It's an investigative service, but the idea that somebody's going to respond immediately or within 10 minutes or 30 minutes, that's really not the way we operate. And so, you know, we're, I think, fairly timely within a day or so. If there's a bylaw infraction somebody's brought to our attention, we will get out and have a look at it to start an investigation. Not to say that it would be completed, but yeah, so I think we do have the resources that we need right now, and you know, something I guess we pay attention to every year when budget time comes around to look at staffing.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that you have enough employees for that, and that's all for me for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Perry.
Nothing at this time, Warden.
Counselor Merriam.
Great, thank you, Madam Warden, and mine is very short too. I just want to take the opportunity to extend congratulations to the organizers of, and the volunteers as well, of Tide Fest, which happened this past weekend. You know, I went a number of times. It was an excellent kind of a homecoming event, very well attended. Everyone seemed to be having a great time, so hats off to those folks. And other than just general constituency type work, nothing to report. No, I'm not bringing any motions forward at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Warden.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a couple of quick things. I also attended Tide Fest and was quite impressed with it. Canada Day, Enfield Fire Department had their breakfast, and this is the most profitable year they've ever had, which is thanks to the community. And most of the complaints I got, I forward to our MLA, and hopefully he'll resolve them. The bridge in Enfield, that's tying up traffic and the dust and all those issues. The only thing I see coming as an issue maybe in the future is we're going to redo the sidewalks in Enfield, and there's so many people walking, and will they have to walk out in the road, or if there's some way we can address that ahead of time? Because there's to me, it's a future concern that maybe we can look at before it happens. Throwing it right at you, Jesse.
Yeah, through Madam Warden, there is a sidewalk replacement project. There's two actually in the capital budget. The Enfield A large portion in Enfield is set to be designed this year, ideally constructed next year. It will be an expansion in width and a rebase. So they're currently 1.2 wide, so 4 feet wide, if you will. Currently in asphalt, and the base hasn't held up, and so they've got the waves in them, if you will. Those are being replaced with concrete 1.8 meters wide, and that's how we're setting up with some accessibility features. And so that is the plan. There's also staff has gone out for some pricing for continuous sidewalk repairs. Some have already started. There were some priority areas of larger holes, if you will, that had to be taken care of first in Milford, and then there's some spots in Lance, but those are all being triaged this summer and are active now.
Okay.
So that hopefully will help short term, and there is the plan for long term in Enfield.
Because the long term, my concern would be people having to walk out on the street when they're doing the construction. Because I know, even I'm one of the walkers now at my age, I had to do it.
Through Madam Warden, standard practice is there isn't always a great opportunity to redirect. You have to close a sidewalk and ideally communicate in advance so the public can make alternative routes for the day, so that those are going to happen. If there is an opportunity to create a detour around, that's ideal. But I would suggest a lot of those are challenging, especially if it's along the number 2, because it's such a busy street that redirecting or alternative routes onto the road right of way isn't ideal. And so we wouldn't do that as a best practice.
Okay. Thank you. That's everything I have. I hope everybody enjoys the month of August off. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Councillor McPhee.
Thank you, Warden. I am going to make a motion here, but first I'll just give a little preamble, and it's to do with the Shubenacadie, the ball field in Shubenacadie at the Shubenacadie River Park. The lights are old. I was there on the 30th of June when the second game of the night, they just got started, played one inning. I think the lights went off on one side. They reset them. They played another inning. The lights went off again, and the umpires called the game. Now, one of the teams that was participating was from Cape Breton, so this is has become an important ball field for the association, and the lights are very old, so I'm going to move that council direct staff to bring forward a Shubenacadie ball field light replacement capital project as part of the 2027-2028 budget discussions.
Seconded by Councillor Tingley. Is there any discussion on the motion? Councillor Garden Cole.
Thank you, Madam Warden. I'm just thinking, so Enfield, the Legion ball field had their lights replaced not that long ago. Was that something that we were a part of? I'm just wondering who typically funds.
We don't own that field. We own the shooting field.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll go to the vote. Someone has not voted. And the motion is passed by a vote of 10-1. Councillor Rhino voting nay.
Okay, and just a couple other things. The CBC had a radio and also on their news site a report regarding the cenotaph in Shubenacadie, and Councilor for District 5 was interviewed. And I'd just like to correct one thing. He stated in his interview that everyone was happy now, and I just want to let the council know that indeed everyone is not happy in Shubenacadie with this. I'll just leave that at that. Along that same line, the rejuvenated parking area in Shubenacadie is looking really good at this with the site that includes the cenotaph, and I see that it looks like the parking lot's going to be paved next week, people have been anxious to keep asking me if this really is going to be paved, so I've been assuring them it has, so I'm glad to see that it's going to be going ahead soon. Heydays was a huge success. I'd just like to thank all the volunteers and sponsors that make the event possible every year. That was our 40th year. Also, the fireworks display was exceptional this year. A lot of people were very impressed. And, yeah, it was great attendance, same as the Enfield Legion, our fire department. The Shubenacadie Legion had their biggest turnout yet for their breakfast. And, of course, like people pointed out, it was on a Wednesday, so more people around. The Provincial Road Committee continues its work, and we had a meeting today with some of the CAOs. It looks like the consultation with councillors may begin, or probably will have to begin in August. Not great, but if we're going to get the report done in the timeline, we're probably going to have to just do that. It might run into September with the consultations. Also, I received an email from Don Smith, Harry Smith's nephew, and he was glad to see that some activity has been occurring. He's been following us. He has been in contact with Jackie at the museum, and he made a donation to the Tea Party, so that they're having in next month, I guess August, coming right up. And also I attended with the warden and the MLA the housing announcement, so that was exciting for Shubenacadie. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Ham?
Thank you, Warden. Two or three little things. July 1st, I was present at the Heydays and participated in the car show. Couple of social events going on in the communities around, and got to socialize with a lot of people throughout the municipality. And one note that we had a long-time resident of 9 Mile River pass away, Cara Vandekooy. She was 106 years old, and it was I knew she was up there, but I had no idea she was that old. Anyway, I'm going to make a motion here. Route 14 in 9 Mile River by the Renfrew Road has been a long time place for cars leaving the road, and because there's a couple of big intersections, most of them just, they don't go in the ditch, but over the years I've had several light poles there, and we've had 4 people lose their life at that intersection. And it's mainly because of the S-turn approaching that Renfrew Road. It's very sharp, and it's only 70 kilometers, but most people don't recognize it is 70. So I'm going to move for the municipality to submit a request for an intersection signage review along that section of Route 14 at the intersection of Renfrew Road, and seek approval from the Public Works to have a municipally owned digital speed sign be located on the west side of the Renfrew Road entrance to support drivers' awareness of the S-turn risk while driving eastbound.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll go to the vote. Motion is passed unanimously. Anything else, Councillor Ham? Okay, Councillor Mitchell.
Thank you, Madam Warden. Just a couple items. Attended the graduations Hands East at the end of June. The young lady that got the municipal award also had the highest average for grades 10, 11, and 12. So he made a good choice. Attended the July 1st parade as a spectator, and had a chance to visit with some of my neighbors who I don't get to see very often. On the 22nd, the mutual aid barbecue was held at the Elmsville Fire, and we had departments from the quarter come in, have an eating and fellowship with hot dogs, hamburgers, and some pop and water. I attended Tide Fest on Saturday and Sunday, had a chance to talk to some of the washer tossers, and I went back on Sunday to watch some of the cornhole players. On the discussion of dust, as you know, Elmwood Drive is next to Elmsville Lumber, and they have trucks coming and going all day, every day, and they do create dust. But besides the dust, we also get some wood fibers. And if an issue comes up with the dusting, I just make a call to Elmsdale Lumber and they deal with it. And as a resident of Elmwood Drive, I don't call as a counselor, I call as the resident. And if the pictures that Councilor Tingy sent was the amount of dust that his constituents are complaining about, mine'd be happy to have that amount of dust from those trucks. Because that is not the dust that we see on a dry day when the log trucks are going into Elmsdale Lumber. And those are my comments, and they're my feelings as a resident.
Anything further?
And that's all.
Counselor Garden Cole.
Thank you, Madam Warden. Just want to touch on a few things that I attended. We had the July 1st parade going from Elmsdale to Enfield. It was very successful. I want to thank the RCMP, the local fire departments, the volunteers who helped barricade the ends of the roads, and also everyone who went to the trouble of participating. It was very much appreciated. We had a ton of spectators, and it was enjoyed by all. I also end my July 1st, always have by going to the Shubenacadie fireworks, and they were extra amazing this year. So I thank Shubenacadie for that. I caught some Tidefest activities, and it looked to be very successful, and everybody appeared to be having a good time. So appreciate all the people who go to the trouble to put that on for our residents. Just wondering, to staff, is there any developments in the street sweeping?
Go ahead, Jesse.
Through Madam Warden. So staff have contacted the province. They do have a street sweeping along the 2 scheduled. Did inquire and to get their perspective on the municipality also doing rounds. They're very much open to it. So we would get approval to do something like that. Of course, no shocker there either,
Yeah.
right? So Park Road was done as the business park gets done annually, usually through it's part of a annual business related cost for the business park upkeep. We're looking to benchmark those costs and then try and translate that to figure out what the cost would be based on council's motion along the 2 and see where it could fit in. It looks like there's been some efforts along the 2, but it wasn't the municipality. The Portacana, I took a look this morning at it, and that developer has actually had a sweeper in. It's actually clear right around, but that wasn't us. We are looking at it. There is gaps. There's still mounds in different locations, but we've been reviewing and trying to build that scope up. So it's a work in progress, but very active, and that's everything I know on the topic as of now.
Okay, so just a couple questions. You say that the business park gets street sweeping done as a separate business initiative. Who does it?
So through Madam Warden, a contracted street sweeper, and it's always been a EBD cost over the years. It's not something that's tended to hit the roads cost center. And so in the past, we've sought out different contractors, and so there's rental companies that do it. And you just check on availability. There's one in Burnside, and also Elmsdale Landscaping has a truck, and if it's got availability, or sometimes we've used them in the past as well. So those are the options we would explore.
Okay.
And so it's not a flat rate, it's an hourly rate, and sometimes you get what you get. We had the business park had to have a second run. They had some mechanical issues, but.
Well, I guess that will be part of the report that's brought back to us. And I also noticed that the Curly's development cleaned a section of the street there, which was quite encouraging. Which leads me to my next topic, which is, no surprise, dust. So I sent pictures and videos around to the other councilors, just so that you can get a feel for the area that I'm talking about. It is extreme, this development that's going on, in that it is, and now mind you, the pictures that I sent were not at a time when there's any activity going on, but you can, from the general geographic pictures, you can get an idea of when that is loaded with heavy equipment and trucks, the amount of dust that would be happening on that particular site, and also the close proximity that the neighbors are to it. So, I mean, we are talking not swimming in their pools this year, not hanging clothes on the line. Some of them had their lines ripped down. Not enjoying their backyards at all, not on their back decks. And I mean, really impacting their quality of life. On the front side, we have, as we know, and I already discussed this, the trucks trucking down Alderney Drive. So after the rain last week on Wednesday and Thursday, and for us, it was a pretty substantial rain, Friday evening, I drove up Alderney Drive for something else and was appalled at you can imagine those big trucks using Alderney Drive after all that rain and the muck. Huge chunks of mud on the road, just a disaster, and then had driven over them, so they were huge patties of muck everywhere, and never cleaned the road when they left their site on a Friday after this mess was left on it. I commented to a resident who flagged me down and said about the street cleaning, and he said, yeah, he said they don't clean the street, they don't care, and nobody does anything about it. So, and then he just walked away. So my question is, and I didn't realize it was a bylaw officer, so dust control on a construction site is a bylaw, is that correct through you to staff?
Go ahead, John.
Yeah, through you, Madam Warden, yes, your community standards bylaw has a section that deals with what we call fugitive dust.
Okay, so then every development would be subject to that at some level, depending on how dusty a development is?
Correct.
Okay, so does dust control never happen? Are they never obligated to take some measures of dust control unless they are contacted with complaints by residents to a community bylaw officer?
Yeah, through you, Madam Warden, I mean, we do operate on the basis of a complaint, so when we do get a complaint, we get in touch with the property manager, and some developers are quite good. They're using sodium chloride, they're occasionally using water or other techniques, slowing their vehicles down and so on to try and suppress dust. And the bylaw doesn't say you can't have any dust that escapes your property. That would be unreasonable for a construction site. It basically says, has the property owner taken, reasonable steps to prevent the release of dust? So are they using any kind of dust suppression on site or water or what have you? Right.
So that would indicate that they actually are responsible. If following the bylaw, they are responsible for maintaining some level of dust control.
They are, yes.
Okay. So then when they don't, that's when the bylaw officer steps in. Because I had a resident send me this under the East Hants Community Standards Bylaw P100. There are no visible dust suppression measures, routine water truck spraying, soil bonding agents. So those would be the things that they would be expected to do under our bylaw B-100?
Yes, those would be some of the reasonable steps that they could take to try and prevent dust from escaping.
Okay. So for a developer that isn't doing any apparent dust control, so then it all hinges on complaints and then staff.
And then we start a discussion with the property owner or the contractor. And if that gets nowhere, there are fines available. I mean, they sort of ramp up from $150 to $300 to $600 a day kind of thing. But we haven't used that to this point. We've simply talked to property managers and they've taken corrective action.
Really? So they've taken corrective action there?
Yeah, I don't know specifically about the Enfield site.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, other than complaining about the road, we've actually had complaints about fugitive dust come in.
Okay, I guess I'm just getting the complaints.
Yeah. Yeah, encourage people to go online and log it in that way.
Right. And you know what? Some people want to come to their counselors with complaints, and sometimes they do that first, sometimes they do it as an end measure, but it is challenging as a counselor when a resident is coming and you're hoping to resolve their issues. I mean, we are elected officials. Second part of that is that the road, the mess of the road. So I guess they are in keeping with the dust control or lack of it, same with the lack of washing the road.
Yeah, it's slightly different that, because, and again, it falls under the traffic authority, I guess. Although in this case, it's even more complicated because it's a provincial road, but I'll let Jesse speak to that part.
Through you, Madam Warden. So yeah, the debris on Alderney, if you will, the debris getting onto Alderney, the topic comes up as what is the erosion and sedimentation control plan for the development. The design engineer for the development lists the criteria of what needs to take place. So from a staff perspective, staff have followed up with that design engineer saying, requesting for them to follow up with the contractor to make sure they're following their sedimentation and erosion plan. And also staff notify the province, so they're aware of the condition of the provincial road. And so the area manager was engaged and we notified them as well. And we notified the contractor of the complaint, so they were aware in case the province was requesting anything, just as being transparent as possible with them.
So if you've got a contractor, if you've got a developer who isn't concerned about it, and you've got the province who doesn't action it, that's it.
There's no other tools in the toolbox currently.
Okay, and my last item is that a resident on Alderney concerned about the traffic, the speed, and obviously now all the new issues on Alderney, wrote to the MLA and the Department of Highways, the old Department of Highways, Public Works, and to address the situation, wanted to know about speed mitigation like in the rest of the subdivision. And I think you were, I'm not sure if you were copied on this or not. I think it was Cody, the MP and the MLA and the Department of Public Works. Anyway, the response back to her was that in order for them to look at it as on a provincial road, there needs to be a request from the municipality to spark them to do a assessment to see if that's required. Does that sound right to you?
Jesse?
Through Madam Warden. I'll give some additional information, then I'll answer the question.
Okay.
So interestingly enough, as you know, it's at times challenging to get digital speed display signs up on provincial roads. A request did come in from the province if the municipality would engage a temporary DSDS on Alderney, and so we're looking into that to help support with the current challenges.
Okay.
So to get that on the list in the schedule, I don't have any ETA on that, but that is something we're looking to accommodate to support. Yes. So any review would be an official request. So if council wanted to make a motion for a request for traffic calming options to be reviewed, or an assessment for the need for traffic calming on Alderney subdivision, or Alderney Drive, I should say, specifically where it's provincial, that could be a motion of council. That could go. Anecdotally, staff have had discussions with provincial staff in the past about ultimately an East Hants staff perspective is on a pre-existing road where you're not going to realign or the road, speed humps are the way you're going to go. And that's typically something that the province has not accepted or not moved forward on. And that is kind of going to be where this likely ends up in a request for review. However, it doesn't mean you don't ask and don't put it out there, because just because we've brought it up in the past doesn't mean the answer won't change the next time we ask. So I just want to manage expectations of that too, where we've been given feedback that that's not something that would tend to happen.
Well, I just think in this particular section of the road, with the speed mitigation action being taken in the rest of the subdivision, which all feeds out into this road, and there's gonna be way more feeding out in this road, and the problems that are gonna ensue with it, and with them giving her that direction that it would come from the municipality for a request for for them to do an assessment, I felt like,
Counselor, you could make a motion asking council to send a letter to Public Works and ask them to do that.
Yeah, so I'm gonna make a motion asking, requesting that the municipality send a letter to Public Works asking that they do an assessment on Alderney Drive for, speed mitigation.
For traffic calming consideration
Okay.
due to speed concerns.
Right. Thank you.
Seconded by
Councillor Musa.
Councillor Musa. Discussion on the motion, Councillor McPhee.
Thank you, Warden. I would just, I will support the motion, but at the 16th of June Provincial Roads Committee, I brought that up with the officials from Public Works, thinking specifically of Alderney Drive, not mentioning Alderney Drive, and was told that they just don't support traffic calming and won't support it. Not saying we shouldn't make the motion and send a letter, but I have to agree with Jesse, it's probably going to be a no, but maybe they'll change their mind. Thank you.
No one left to speak, we'll go to the vote. Motion is passed unanimously.
Thank you, council, for that. I know I was a little long, but it's just, things going on. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Rhino.
Thank you,
The
Madam.
Deputy Warden says it's the best for last, so we're waiting with bated breath.
That's to be voted on. All right. Pardon me? On June the 26th, I attended the Knoll Legion Peacekeepers Awards, and on the 27th, along with the warden, I attended the opening of the Veterans Park. On July 1st, I attended and participated in the fireworks of the Maitland Fire Department. On July the 11th, I had the occasion to present a 90th birthday certificate to Mr. Leonard Green, who was very appreciative, and it was a great gathering. I missed the June 30th one, which was 50-year anniversary to Northfield residents, Mickey and Cheryl McClellan. They were very appreciative of that. From July 17th to the 19th, I attended various things at the Knoll Fun Fair. And on July 25th, I did the same thing for the Walton Fireman's Day. So it was a very busy month, and I took great pride in covering the area. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes business from councilors. Councilors, I know the hour's getting late. We do have 3 in-camera items on the list. So if we're going to continue, I would be looking for a motion to move in camera to discuss a land issue, a legal issue, and a contractual issue. Okay, moved by Councillor Hibbs, seconded by Councillor Musa. All those in favor? Contrary? Motion is carried. We will give staff time to take us in camera. Okay, welcome back, everyone. I would report that we met in camera to discuss a land issue, a legal issue, and a contractual issue. There are no motions coming forward from those discussions. Staff was given direction. That concludes the business on tonight's agenda.